would have just brought up. Good conversation. Please stick around. If you're in the chat and you want to join the panel, let's click the link at the top of the chat like everyone else did. Join us and have your voice heard as well. Let's go to Shooter Breeze topic number 3 tonight. Shooter Breeze topic number 3 says African gender concepts versus European gender concepts. Is he correct in his assessment, or is he missing key components in his analysis given our divide? So what is that all referring to? It's referring to this post here on, what's this, Instagram. By Adateo, I'm guessing is the pronunciation, but I'm not sure. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Adateo says, every day I hear people say that if a Black woman is exhibiting bold, aggressive, assertive, uncompromising qualities, she's being masculine. I challenge these people to examine the examine the archetypes of femininity found in the African/cultural sphere. Let me read that one more time. Every day, I hear people say that if a Black woman is exhibiting bold, aggressive, assertive, uncompromising qualities, she's being masculine. Challenge these people to examine the archetypes of femininity found in the African cultural/spiritual sphere. He goes on to say over here, we have to stop letting these Eurocentric ideas around gender roles, masculinity, femininity, etc., influence so much of our thought process. Femininity from the African lens is not relegated to being nice, quiet, and submissive 24/7. Queen Cobra claps. Someone says the Yoruba Aweyo here have more discipline and respect for their husband through thick and thin, and may voice their opinion, which shall be accounted for, but respect the husband's final decision. None of the pushback and assuming masculine roles that undermine the man that you find in the States. Social media and weak cultural values plays a big role. There's a way to do things and still get your point across and express your emotions without compromising the household. So I throw it to the chat and I throw it to the panel. African gender concepts versus European gender concepts. Is he correct in his assessment, or is he missing key components in his analysis given our divide? So Trigger just said it's a slideshow. My bad. Let me go through it, I guess. Oh, okay. I don't know. Let me see something. I don't know how slideshows work on the web version of it. So let me see. Oh, okay. My bad. No, I got it now. Okay, so let's go back. So this was the first one I read about people say that if Black women is exhibiting bold, aggressive, assertive, uncompromising qualities, she's being masculine. Then the next thing says, would we say that Idan Ogboni was being quote unquote masculine when Orun Miller called her to earth to introduce order and eliminate lawlessness and anarchy in the world? They even say that she had the strength of 1,000 men. Would we consider Oya masculine because she is described through Oriki praise poetry as growing a beard during times of war, as leading her husband into battle as fiery, as fierce, etc.? Oya would not be considered quote unquote feminine by today's Eurocentric standards. Would we consider the Ayami to be masculine because they have fought with countless Orisha from Orun Miller to Obatala? Was Orisa Odu also being masculine when she killed Orun Miller's other wife for breaking a covenant? So, okay, there's more. I wish this was better. Okay. When we consider Osun to be masculine because she shut down the male deities' efforts to build roads, houses, etc. on earth, when they refuse to include or acknowledge her, ultimately having to beg for her forgiveness. We could also look at countless historical examples. Was Yaa Santua of Ghana, quote unquote, masculine when she led the men to battle against the British? Was Queen Lozi Kia from Zimbabwe masculine for doing the same in her country? What about Queen Nzinga? Okay, so it seems like that's where it ends. There's no arrow showing to continue, but it seems like that's where it ends. So, Trigger, I appreciate you speaking up and letting me know that there's more. I personally can't see the arrow that advances or even goes back. I'm just clicking in the general area. So I appreciate that there. So you guys heard the slide. You guys on the panel, you guys in the chat. So chat, I'd like you guys to really respond to this. Because sometimes I do believe, I'm just going to be real with you guys. I do believe that sometimes some Black men, African men, push for women to be something other. And I think sometimes we use these types of examples to kind of justify these things. I'll give you a parallel. We sometimes, not we here, but in the Black world, we would sometimes look at an instance of a man wearing a dress in some part of ancient Africa and say, oh, look, see, they were okay with homosexuality. And no, that's not what that is talking about. Just like I don't think the examples used here really supports the intended argument. This is me personally. But I would be curious to hear what others of you on the panel have to say. I'll start with Brother Bakari. Brother Bakari, what are your thoughts on Shoot the Breeze topic number 3?
I had stepped away, so I got to listen again. Let somebody else go. I'm sorry, because I
Oh,
meant
my
to
bad.
tell you. I meant to tell you I was going to come back, so I had stepped away.
Okay,
Can I get this one? I'm anxious.
go ahead. Take it away.
um, yeah, I mean, I love that breakdown of what it is to mean for a woman's strength. Okay, so Westerners, Europeans, they think a woman is weak, right? And this is coming from their culture and their religion, where a woman is nothing but a vessel, right? She doesn't have any real body autonomy. Is where pretty much whatever the whatever the man says goes, and the woman always has to be behind the man. So a woman is never seen as a pillar of strength in no way, except for working with children. So the breakdown that they gave with all the orishas, as well as also there's some female deities within the Egyptian pantheon as well. That are warrior like Bastet, right, and all these other deities that they have is an example, as well as Nzinga was my favorite female warrior. You know, these they see these women as outliers. That okay, yeah, they're just an exception to the rule, but the majority of women can't be that. Again, this is all a form of colonization and how we see that, right? In Ghanaian customs, or have you could probably tell me. And when I was coming on my niggerdom, I was talking to a guy. He was from Ghana, and I said, "What's your name?" And I asked him to explain his name, and he was like, "The name that I have is from my mother's side." I was like, "I find that interesting." And I kind of knew the answer, but I asked him anyway, "Why your mother's side?" Because I came from my mother. I didn't come from my father. My father contributed to everything, but I physically came from my mother. So I have my mother's name. I bear.
Kofi, your audio cut out. Kofi? Yeah, Kofi, your audio cut out.
Kofi got to get rid of that Elon Musk internet.
That Starlink ain't doing you right there. But you know what I'll do? I'll go to Anthony, and then I'll come back to Bakari, and then we'll see if Kofi got it together. Anthony, what say you?
Okay. This was an excellent prompt, man, but for different reasons. Hey, you can hear me good, Bakari? Coco?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, because mine kind of messed it up a little bit, too. Okay. This was an excellent prompt, but it was, okay, I'm gonna get it this way. Okay, number one, okay, Kofi was on the right track when he was talking about that colonization. See, when Europeans and when Arabs began coming to Africa, you know what I'm saying, and influencing the way we think, the way our worldview, the way we see it, you know, taking us, a lot of us away in parts of Africa, like in East Africa, you know, particularly also in parts of West Africa where Islam spread, where you begin to see this kind of thing, especially when the Europeans came, you know, with the full colonization. So you see this, especially us as brothers, as black men, starting to embrace some of that same kind of ideology that the white man had. Kobe was right. The white man didn't give a damn about his woman. He thought that's all she was. She was shit. Something to go and, you know, toss up and do what you gonna do with her and go ahead. But you gotta, but like in our cultures, like on back from the early the Nubian civilizations, the Kemetic civilizations, and all over Africa, you know, we always held a woman in high reverence. Check this out. You know, when you see a picture of a lot of the pharaohs of Egypt, the ancient Egyptian kings, they would have a woman standing beside them with her arm around him.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? They have a woman standing beside him. He might be sitting on the throne. They have her with her arm in a loving way, you know, a loving image of her with her arm around him. Or they have a picture, have one of him standing up, looking powerful and strong, his mother on one side, his sister on the other side. Okay. The kings of Nubia, the kings of Kush, rather, they had a real powerful, a matrilineal kind of thing. You know, I mean, it was a matrilineal ascendancy, how you became king. Okay, you couldn't become king unless the women, like your sisters, your mother, your sisters, and all the women, like they co-signed with it. You know, they'll choose, you know, whatever brother was gonna be king, they had to co-sign with it. So they said, okay, we think he's good. He's a good person to be king. He has the qualities and all that stuff. So, I mean, you know, the woman was valued. Now, this don't mean that, okay, like, you know how in today's modern terms, how you hear some of these fools say, oh, these Negroes, talking about the black woman is God and stuff. Which she is in some ways, I believe. But I'm just saying, you know, they try to do it to denigrate the black woman, to say like you want to, almost how, you know, how they were used to call you a hotep, and like that's a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? Well, if you're a brother that respect women and value women, you know, some brothers would think that you being weak or something. Well, you're not. In the beginning of that prompt, they was talking. See, that's one thing we don't understand, because a lot of us don't study. They was talking about the Orishas. When you look at the relationship between Olodumare and all of the Orishas, his sons and daughters, the Orishas, like his relationship with Yemiya and with Oshun and with excuse me, with Oshun, with Yemiya, with what's the other one name? Y'all call it out, man. I'll be forgetting. Oshun, Yemiya, and okay, then. Hey man, hey y'all, this Dr. Carter's son calling me right now. I'm gonna have to decline him. Think of the relationship that Olodumare had with the Orishas and all of the power and everything, because you know Olodumare, he relegated power, he relegated responsibilities to the Orishas. You know what I'm saying? And if you see how all of the responsibilities that he gave Oshun, that he gave Yemiya, that he gave I want to call her name Oya, and others. You know what I'm saying? You were like, you were just like, this is our in traditional Africa. This is before colonialism. If you read about, if you wow, you would have all of the answers that you want. Damn, he's still calling it. Want, to a question like this. Our relationship between the way we as men and women function in Africa. In ancient Africa, before colonialism, before invasions from other people, before these influences from other people. You called out all of those great warrior queens and those great heroes and those great sheroes like Queen Nzinga and like Queen Mother Ya Setawa and like Nihanda Chauwe Naika Sakana in Zimbabwe, Matantisi. You know what I'm saying? All of these women who fought our enemies and who stepped up to power. You know what I'm saying? And brought and consolidated power and made their people great, a great nation, and all kind of things. You know what I'm saying? So I think that excuse me, we didn't never had that kind of thought. We knew roles. We have roles. We knew that that's the role in society for the men, and it's a role in society for the women. You know what I'm saying? And each role is valuable. Each role is needed. You know what I'm saying? Now, in certain times, it come a time for where, you're gonna have a queen idea who gonna step up to be the first queen of the first Yoruba queen, ruling queen. You know what I'm saying? A Hangbe in the kingdom of Dahomey. Certain times came around where they was the one who had all of the answers. They were the one who had the solutions. And so everybody said, you know what? She's the best person for the job. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't have no problem with her being the king, the queen, brother, being the ruler. You know what I'm saying? We had a concept of what's best for the people, what's best for our community, what's best for our society. You know what I'm saying? So look, I ain't gonna go on that long, man, because Kobe missed out on a lot of his time, and I yield to Mike.
No, good stuff there, brother Anthony. Shout out to the Forecast Radio saying what's up to myself, the panel, the chat. Y'all say what's up to Forecast. Trigger Happy said to what Anthony was saying. Trigger Happy said, yeah, true. Queen Mother was important to the process, no doubt. Earlier he said naming systems used to be tied to totems, and the circumstances to which the child was born. It's a very delicate process. Trigger was responding to what Kofi had been saying. Kofi came back for a brief moment and left again. I guess he's having connection issues. Trigger said, yeah, Kofi, to be honest, I'm going to find a prompt on this, but the whole naming system we currently adopt by way of Christianity has completely morphed our past naming system. Yes, sir.
Hey, Koku, I'm going to get off. I got a call. That was Dr. Collins' son just calling me. I'm going to call him 3 to 1. I'll come back on.
All right, do your thing. All right. So before I throw it to Bakari, let me just read some of the comments. Cheryl says, all roads lead back to religion. Isn't that interesting? All roads lead back to religion. Although I'm not mad at African spirituality. But I don't like when certain things are taken out of context, which is kind of what I took from Anthony's response, and applied to a current thing. And I'm going to read a comment that talks about the current issue in a second. By the way, Cheryl, I'd like to hear your complete thoughts on this, so post your thoughts in the chat for me, please. Trigger says, like, my issue with the comparison is that he is comparing our current problem of broken families and trauma versus the dignity of our ancestors in the past. Also, our ancestors has extreme strong bonds, and I think that's important. Before you start to compare us to our ancestors, you have to understand that very point that Trigger's making here. He says, right now, the bond between black men and women is not to its highest capacity versus in the past. There is a clear balance between men and women and an understanding of strength between both genders. With that said, let me see if Brother Bakari has any thoughts on the prompt at hand. Brother Bakari, Any thoughts on should we topic number 3, African gender concepts versus European gender concepts? Is he correct in his assessment, or is he missing key components in his analysis given our divide? What say you?
Well, the gender concept, when you go through history, right? The way Europeans treated their women. A woman was just for having babies, but they would say real love is between a man and a man. You ever seen that movie 300 about the Greeks?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay, do you know why they fought so hard for each other? They were taught at young age to love men. If you don't believe me, look this up, to love one another. So
Yeah. Their generals used to force themselves on privates and stuff like that
yeah,
to push
so
that whole idea. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
they were fighting for the man they loved. I cannot remember this president's name of this country. He was either 13 or 15. He was an odd number. He was openly gay in this country. He was number 13 or number 15. Look him up. Look and see who was the first president used the term first lady. And you will see they try to switch it up now. It's hard to find, but it was him. Whoever he was 13 or 15, he was openly gay. Uh the term first lady, he created that term for the White House because his niece used to be at the White House. And what he said was women was meant to serve. So he had his niece. But true love is man and man. So when you look, and we are looking through their lens, and we can see a strong woman. And today, because we look through their lens, because we don't know us that well, we will say that woman is masculine, or that woman is gay, right? She a dyke, she a stud, she a bull dyke, as the old folk used to say, right? But we don't ever think to say, you know what? We saw our women different than they see their women. That's why we treat our women here and in today's society. That's why we treat our women the way we do, because we're trying to, once again, it's back to, they're trying to be white. So what do? You put your woman down, you tell your woman she's nothing. That's how you can control your woman. But you notice, as they're trying to be white and they control their women, they have consistently tried to put the black woman in control of the black man. But if we knew who we were, these gender wars on social media wouldn't happen. The one guy, the Samuels guy, he wouldn't have gotten popular because our women walked with us. We were partners. They were not beneath us. But today we want to be like them. So whatever it is a man may have had on in Africa back in ancient times, and somebody can look at that and try to say, ooh, that black man, see, they were gay. They wore dresses back then. No, and I'm not saying it wouldn't. I heard people give the argument there were no gay people in ancient Africa. I wouldn't honestly say that because I think gay is a mental disorder. That's me. It came from somewhere. Something had to be wrong for. But anyway, that's something complete. That's off topic. But that don't the way we dressed or the clothes they had on didn't represent a man trying to be a woman. They have a show on it was on Amazon or Netflix. It's a series. It's a movie. They did a series. They did a movie called uh The King of Boys. The King of Boys was a woman. She was in charge of men. Now that was a recent show. If you look up the one-eyed queen of Nubia, y'all know who the one-eyed queen is. Look and see how she led her people to fight against the Romans. We never had a problem with our women leading the charge. That is something they did, always did, and still do. So now, since we are caught up in this society and we don't fight the things off they do in every way, we start to do what they do. And what's that? We want to dominate our woman. We want to control our woman. But I tell everybody, if you want to, like when Anthony was talking about the influence the Arabs about there with Islam and how white people came in and however these groups came in, if you're trying to be like those men and want to control your women the way they control theirs, beat your woman. I'm not advocating for you to go out and beat your woman, but if you want to do everything they did, go beat the hell out your woman. It used to be about 10, 12 years ago, you could just look up, you could Google domestic violence, and you would just see pictures of women, white women just beat. Now they have switched it up. And now their stats say black women. I don't necessarily think that is so. Even when you read the Quran will tell you, the Quran say if your woman disobey, you beat her till she obeys. That's what they do. That's not what we do. But in society, and when you're trying to be something that you're not, and you're confused, because we are confused, we end up emulating the same thing we claim we hate. We end up trying to be it. On that, I hear the mic.
I appreciate that, Brother Bakari. What Brother Bakari was saying was what I was trying to say, but in a different way. I was speaking on it in Trigger Happy's way. His analysis, the guy who's posting this on Instagram, he's leaving out the fact that we are not in our right minds right now, men and women, black men, African men, and women. What he's pointing to is a different time when, as Brother Bakari pointed out, we had better relationships between ourselves. We've been contaminated now, and now we have, in today's society, in the black society today, because of the contamination, when a woman is doing some of the things he would be referring to from the past, it's on a different frequency than it was in the past. And that's my thing. His analysis is missing that key part. By the way, Bakari, the two presidents you could have been talking about was Fillmore or Buchanan. I think you're talking about Buchanan because he was never married. So he's probably the guy who was gay. I didn't know he was open.
Yeah, Buchanan. Yeah, Buchanan.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It
So
was Buchanan.
that's my only with his analysis. But everything you guys are saying are correct. By the way, Trigger said, he said, which is a key point in their attempts of dominance, they have to eliminate the man and assimilate the woman. So he was supporting what Bakari was saying. He mentioned that, I guess Bakari was talking about Queen Amanirenas.
Yeah, that's her.
Amarena.
Yeah, that's her. The one-eyed queen of Nubia. And the only reason they didn't completely defeat the Romans was because Egypt refused to fight with her. If the Egyptians, according to history, had chosen to fight with her, our history in Egypt is possibly, it could be completely different.
Right. In the chat, Trigger App, he says, like, instead of our people embodying a Garvey or a Sada Shakur, some black women are bragging that they go to college more than black men, far from Queen Amarinas. Cheryl says, now we got a bunch of women who say they don't need a man, but find themselves well off financially, but lonely. Yeah, that reminds me, we had this conversation a few weeks ago when I was hosting the show And we talked about that. Cheryl also says, because they don't realize you can't live without the other half of you, which is a man. Kofi didn't come back. I don't know what's going on, but does anyone have any last thoughts on this prompt?
I have a question. Why can't I see none of Cheryl comments unless you put them up here? What's up, Cheryl? I can't see none of her comments.
Cheryl might be on the KWAZ radio side because I do
live stream
here and there. So she probably is over there. All right. But if no one has any last thoughts, I thought that was a real good analysis by everyone. I just think when we just not us here, but in general in the world, when we put these think pieces out, we do need to add some nuance and some important details in it. I would love for our women in general today to be like the women he would have mentioned from our past. But unfortunately, we've been negatively impacted. And our men, context. That's the word. Forecast, context. But because of the way we've been infected, both men and women, not just women, both men and women, the way we've been affected or infected, certain analyses are not sufficient. Kofi came back. Let's see if Kofi would like to finish his thought on this. Kofi, what say you? Unmute your mic, brother.
Oh, my bad. No, I'm not sure if you remember what's the last thing I did because I'm in the store and I realized my phone shut off and I was talking like an idiot. So I'm not sure what's the last thing you heard me say.
Take it from the top.
Well, basically, I was saying that this is a westernized ideology that a black woman she's just a vessel. She has no autonomy. She has no thoughts or anything like that. She's just a vessel, right? And I contribute that to the culture of America, but that's more. I think religion plays a part of it, especially when you talk about Adam planting the seed, and you always hear religious people, the seed comes from the man, and I'm of my father's seed, and this, that, and the other. So a woman is nothing but a vessel. You know what I'm saying? She's a vessel and she's a servant. So when it comes to power, you know what I'm saying, in Western societies, it's always a male figure. So it's very alien when a woman asserts any type of power. They see that as being masculine. Same thing when you think of Cleopatra. When Cleopatra was meeting Mark Antony, they kind of laughed at her like, okay, a woman king, this is, a woman that's a king, that's funny. You know what I'm saying? They never respected her as a ruler. Like, these foreigners are backwards having a woman rule. But she was a great ruler. Another good ruler was Hatshepsut. Hatshepsut was Egypt's another female pharaoh. Right? And I like the analogies that they had using the orishas. Because there's there's female orishas that are warlike. Even in Egypt, in the Egyptian or the Kemetic pantheon, you have Bastet, you have different female netters that have a warlike mentality, right? Oh man, I don't know if you can still hear me. You can still hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So there's a lot of things in our culture, about our culture, that just simply doesn't agree with that. And only if you're a person of the Abrahamic religions, you will co-sign that type of thing. So again, you got Queen Nzinga, you got the woman king. You have a lot of females that have that show the leadership in a strong way. Look on Netflix. I was supposed to do a video about this. Look on Netflix. Oh man, I forgot the name of this story. It's called I think it was called Woman King. It's not like the one from Viola Davis, but it was something called African Kings or African Queens of Stories, and it's a reenactment. It's beautiful. It's a reenactment of how Queen Nzinga came to be in her position. Now, it's beautiful because what they say, they think, oh, okay, yeah, you're the oldest daughter, but they want the man to be, her brother to be the king. He was fucking weak. He was weak. Everything in that narrative, everything Nzinga says not to do, he did, and he ended up getting screwed over, right? So if you have a Western mindset, oh, he's a man, and there's strength in men, she was much smarter than him. Much more. You gotta understand, war is mostly mental, then physical, right? And he just failed as a king. Simply, he failed, and she was victorious. So we have a very poisoned, westernized mindset of what a woman, what's a woman's power. There's places in, I think the last thing I also mentioned, I think this brother was Ghanaian. I don't know if he was a Khan or not, and this is when I was getting out of my niggerdom and everything. And I was talking to him, and he told me what his name was. And I was like, where did you get your name? He said, I got my name from my mother. I was like, interesting. Why did you get your name from your mother? He said, because I came from my mother, right? So I have my name, my mother's name, and my father gave me my first name, right? And that's how. So I found that to be very interesting. And people don't understand, African women played pivotal points in societies. You couldn't do certain things or be a king or be this without, there were women on these councils. You know what I'm saying? So again, to not understand this is to be extremely Europeanized or Arabized, and you just don't know who you are. That's pretty much the gist of what I was gonna say.
Yes, Europeanized, Arabized, Islamicized, Christianized, all that type of stuff that's foreign. We're infected. Brother Bakari said if Kofi don't get rid of Starlink, he will fall off again. LOL. So keep that in mind, Kofi.
Hey, Kofi.
Yeah.
Yeah, Anthony, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. I just want to. I checked that program out, that Woman King thing. I looked at some of it. I looked at a little bit of it. What Kofi was talking about. I seen some of it. But you know,
it was good.
Yeah, and and like I had already had read like years ago about it in Nzinga's story. But yeah, I seen it. I ran across it the other night, man. I said, yeah, okay. But what I wanted to say was, like, in West Africa, one of the most powerful kingdoms in West Africa, and and of course we know about the whole legacy of it being involved in the slave trade. The Dahomey Kingdom. Okay, in the Dahomey Kingdom, the religion, okay, the belief system of the ancient Dahomean, of the Dahomean people. When you get into it, which is called voodoo, which is where where you when you go to Haiti, that's where Haiti it comes from what is now modern day Benin, the ancient Dahomey, the Dahomean kingdom, the kingdom of Dahomey. Okay, their religion, what a lot of people don't know, in their belief system, the creator deity is a woman. In the phone people, in the spiritual system of the phone people, is a woman, Nana Baluku, and she's one of the most revered of deities, in West Africa, among people who still follow the traditional belief system. But yeah, the deity, the chief deity, the creator deity in the phone kingdom, in the kingdom of the Dahomey, among the phone people, was a woman named Nana Baluku. I just wanted to throw that in. She's one of the only female creators that I ran across, at traditional African belief system in West Africa. Yeah, the creator was a woman named Nana Baluku.
Good stuff. Good stuff. I wanted Bakari to hang around because this next topic, I heard him bring it up I believe on Kofi's live stream this week. By the way, if you're not tuning into the Forecast Radio, Kofi the Black Critic, Consider Cheek and Forecast together, I don't know what you're doing.